Let's not waste any time and jump into honorable mentions. So, Canada plans to expand assisted death. And Reuters writes, Canada is preparing to expand its medical assisted death framework to become one of the broadest in the world, a change some want to delay due to concerns that vulnerable people have easier access to death than to a life without suffering. Well, that's progressive. So, who is eligible for this? Well, according to the Canadian government, your eligibility is you must be 18. You have to have a grievous or irremediable medical conditions, and examples are serious illness, disease, or disability, or and physical or mental suffering. So, if you're just depressed, right? Also, you don't need a fatal or terminal conditions to be eligible. So, like I said again, if you're depressed, then that's definitely broad terms, right? But it's not broad enough for the man who just simply wants to die.
I've never been born, but at least I can control how and where I die.
This is Mitchell Tremblay, a man who is asking the Canadian government to end his life. In fact, he's been waiting for years. In Canada, medically assisted dying was legalized in 2016, allowing adults with select advanced physical disabilities or ailments to end their lives with the help of a willing nurse practitioner or doctor. Access was expanded in 2021 to include those whose deaths are not reasonably foreseeable, meaning those with a serious illness, disease, or disability, and who are suffering physically and mentally from it. For now, death due solely to mental illness doesn't qualify, but that's set to be debated next year. But that does not include those wishing to die because of poverty, abuse, or homelessness, and that's why Tremblay, who is 40 years old, is not eligible despite the daily physical and mental pains he feels.
So many terrible things that I just won't waste more time with. I have no goals, no hope, no support, no wish to continue.
Like others on disability in the province of Ontario, Tremblay receives just $1,228 a month, nowhere near the livable amount for any place in Canada. He recently found student housing after another stint of homelessness in 2020 and survives off dollar store protein shakes if he's lucky. Some days he doesn't even have enough money for any food or drink.
I'm in my bed 23
What do you mean? He
hours
doesn't
a
get food
day.
stamps?
I've lost a lot of weight. I was first homeless at 18, then 21, 23, 26,
Jesus.
32, 35, and just 2 years ago again. This past September I turned 40, and with no other way to celebrate, I ran a GoFundMe for emergency groceries.
Basic survival is not the only thing he can't access. He's also plagued by a life of abuse that started as early as he can remember.
Night terrors started at age 6 after being sexually abused by a cousin repeatedly. My father was an alcoholic.
Jesus.
My mother was in a car accident around the same time, broke both arms and a leg. I would find her on the floor screaming out to kill me, and after a suicide attempt at 17, I was diagnosed with social anxiety, generalized anxiety, PTSD, major depressive disorder, borderline and histrionic personality disorders as well. I was kicked out and on the street by 18, working as a prostitute.
Jesus, man. That's sad. I kind of feel bad for the man, right? Jesus. No, I was always told that Canada has a far better social net, than America, and that we should aim to be more like Canada when it comes to healthcare. No, that man is suffering. He could barely afford his rent because the government does not provide him enough money monthly to pay his rent. No, he has to budget his food stamps. No, he's obviously a depressed drug addict. And the one occupation he was good at was taken away from him because he would rather lay in bed all day than go for a run. Just let the man die. No, just let him die, Canada. No, because Canada had no problem offering a Paralympian woman assisted death because she was being too naggy. She wanted a little help, not death, the New York Post writes. A paraplegic from former Canadian military member, is ripping her government, which offered to euthanize her after she complained about delays having a wheelchair lift installed in her home. Retired Army Corporal Christine Gauthier, who competed for Canada at the 2016 Rio de Janeiro Paralympics, testified in Parliament Thursday that a Veterans Affairs Canadian caseworker offered the opportunity for a medically assisted death and even to provide the equipment. I have a letter saying that if you're so desperate, madam, we can offer you medical assistance in dying, said Gauthier, who injured her back during a 1989 training accident. Jesus. So, don't let the 40-year-old drug addict who lives off the government die, but the paraplegic who is successful, contributes to society, and lives life to the fullest kill her. That makes no sense. No, it's probably because she's not living off the government, so they can't make money off of her, right? Anyways, let's move on here, huh? So, Project Veritas and schools giving out child sex toys. That's the next story we're going to talk about. And I know you might be saying, this is all humbug. It's not true. But it is. So, Project Veritas writes, elite Chicago private school dean of students brags about bringing in LGBTQ plus health center to teach queer sex to minors. That's really cool part of my job. Passing around dildos and butt plugs, using lube versus using spit. Well, slippery slope. Because that's what Democrats said when conservatives were complaining about the normality of the LGBTQ in society. That it would lead to sexual indoctrination of kids. The left called it a strong man argument. And no, it's not straw man argument. Sorry, I said that wrong. A straw man argument, and that it would never happen. What's that we just read? No, and I'm not against the LGBTQ community. No, I live in Seattle. My conservative morals say it shouldn't be tolerated, but I live in reality, and homosexuality resists. You can't deny it, and to use faith to dismiss it is ignorance. And to say they don't deserve the rights that married heterosexual couples get is wrong. That's another conversation. What is shown in this clip is exactly what conservatives were saying what would happen if Obergefell versus Hodges was allowed to stand. And Democrats said that was a straw man argument. Conservatives are using the extreme to dismiss the rights of individuals. Well, time always tells. And let's give this a watch.
Like our LGBTQ plus health center come in, they were passing around butt plugs and dildos to my students, talking about queer sex, using lube versus using spit.
Meet Joe Bruno, Dean of Students at the prestigious Francis W. Parker Private School in Chicago.
Jesus, that's fucking horrible audio, guys. Come on.
$40,000
You guys
per
can do
student.
better.
They're just like passing around dildos, butt plugs. The kids are just playing with them. They're like, how does this butt plug work? How do we do, how does this work? That's a really cool part of my job.
Parents might be stunned to learn that Bruno's version of love and acceptance means handing out sex toys to underage students.
So I've been the dean for 4 years. During Pride, we do a Pride Week every year, and I had our LGBTQ plus health center come in. They were passing around butt plugs and dildos to my students, talking about queer sex, using lube versus using spit.
Who is this?
Jesus.
This is an LGBTQ plus health center came in to talk to my high school students. They're just passing around dildos, butt plugs. The kids are just playing with them. They're looking at them.
In the school?
In a classroom.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
While I'm sitting there. Then we had a drag queen come in, pass out cookies and brownies and do photos.
It's so amazing. And everybody's cool with that, like the butt plugs and the dildos. Nobody complains.
No.
I mean, if the parents found out, would they?
No. It's queer sex. This is the drag queen that came in.
What's her name?
Alexis Bevels.
Alexis Devil.
And just hung out in my classroom.
And was there?
Or hung out in my office.
You have so much freedom. so much wiggle room.
So much freedom, so much money.
I mean,
To do stuff.
trustees are okay with that too? They don't know.
They would. It's like I wouldn't even like run it by them. Like, why would I run it by them? They'd be like, "Oh my god, that's wonderful."
Like, how old were the kids at with the classroom?
14, 18. They're like, how does this work? How do we do, like, how does this work?
Right.
So yeah, that's a really like cool part of my job is I don't have to worry about stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, 14 to 18, huh? Look, I was introduced to porn at a young age, but it was introduced to me by my peers. No, it was a juvenile understanding of what was going on. My understanding of sex was not fully understood till I was in my mid-teens, around when the ages of what we just saw in that clip, right? But fully understanding of sex was brought in by my peers, right? And what I mean by peers is someone my own age, you know? And it was a crude understanding of what sex was. You know, and it was my own journey to understand it more with the women who gave my sorry ass a chance. No? Sex early on should be something special learned between two young individuals, not through adults that have indulged themselves in it. They are perversing sex. Now, don't get me wrong here. I'm not naive. 2/3 of those kids probably already know what dildos and butt plugs are and have seen them being used on the internet. But they have seen it within the realm of porn, which is perverse and taboo. When someone kids trust and think is normal brings in things they have only seen in porn, it reinforces their minds that what they see in porn is how everyone else has sex. Oh, that porn video I saw with the girl with the gaping asshole because two guys were in her at once. Well, that must be a normal thing people like to do when having sex. You know, it opens that window up. You know, it's just, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm not progressive enough. Anyways, let's move on. So, trans activists get roasted during an oversight committee hearing. That's the next story we're going to be talking about. And I'm sure this is something that flew under people's radar because the only people who talked about it that I know of are Tim Pool, Giannis Pappas, Jimmy Dore, and Steven Crowder. So during the oversight committee hearing on white supremacy and how its evil rhetoric on social media is a threat to democracy and pushing anti-LGBTQ extremism. There's so many words to say. You know, the activists who are there trying to make a case that hate speech should not be allowed on social media and that the government needs to step in and stop people spreading evil rhetoric are asked by Nancy Mace if they believe rhetoric on social media is a problem and a threat to our democracy. Now, they all answered yes, and the clip I'm about to show you is humiliating for this group of people. No, it shows their bias, their disregard for people who don't exist within their said morals, and their willingness to lie when confronted of their hypocrisy. And let's give this a watch.
On social media, a problem and a threat to our democracy, Mr. Ward?
Yes, absolutely.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Ms. Caraballo?
Yes.
Ms. Nomani?
Yes.
Ms. Tyler?
Yes.
Another question I have, do you believe that rhetoric targeting officials with violence for carrying out their constitutional duties is a threat to democracy, Mr. Ward? Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
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 All right, thank you very much. Only a few weeks after the attempted attack on a Supreme Court justice on June 25th, one of the witnesses, Alejandra Caraballo, tweeted out the following in response to a decision on abortion overturning Roe v. Wade, and I'll quote directly from the tweet. "The 6 justices who overturned Roe should never know peace again. It is our civic duty to accost them every time they're in public. They are pariahs. Since women don't have their rights, these justices should never have a peaceful moment in public again." I know something about being accosted. The night of January 5th, I was physically accosted on the streets of D.C. in Navy Yard by a constituent of mine. I fervently blamed rhetoric on social media, rhetoric at public events, for being physically accosted. I carry a gun everywhere I go when I am in my district and I'm at home, because I know personally that rhetoric has consequences. I've had my car keyed. I've had my house spray painted. I had someone trespass in my house as recently as August. I've been doxxed on social media about where I live. And I've had to add to security everywhere I go. Often, because I can't afford it, I have to carry my own firearm wherever I go. And Alejandra Caraballo also recently tweeted on November 19th, not even a month ago, that the Supreme Court, vested with the judicial power of the United States by our Constitution, stated they are not a legitimate court issuing decisions. And also the Supreme Court is an organ of the far right. So my last question today of Ms. Caraballo, do you stand by these comments, this kind of rhetoric on social media? And do you believe it's a threat to democracy?
Thank you, Representative, for the opportunity to clarify.
She's not asking you to clarify. She's asking you a yes or no
I have a question. Is it yes or no? Do you believe your rhetoric is a threat to democracy when you're calling to accost a branch of government, the Supreme Court?
I don't believe that's a correct characterization of my
tweeted,
statements.
Okay.
Did you not tweet that? That you thought that the Supreme Court justices should be accosted?
What I'm saying is that
yes
that is not an accurate characterization of my statements.
On June 8th of this year, a man was arrested near Justice Brett Kavanaugh's home in Maryland. He told law enforcement officers he wanted to kill a Supreme Court justice. He was found with a knife, with a pistol, 2 magazines, ammunition, pepper spray, zip ties, a hammer, crowbar, and duct tape.
Yep. That happened. Evil rhetoric. No. That leads to extremism. No. That was embarrassing. She was sitting there trying to, kind of shake the fucking question there by saying, well, let me explain what I actually meant. It's like, no. We know what you fucking meant. We know what you meant. I need you to answer this fucking question with a yes or no. She didn't want to do it. Well, speaking of embarrassment, we got to talk about George Santos. George Santos and his fictional resume is the next thing we will be talking about. So, George Santos flipped New York's 3rd district in the midterms, and a lot of people believe he was elected to office not because of his policies and what he can offer his constituents, but because of his over-embellished background. And to that I say, sure, maybe. What exactly did George lie about in his background that has Democrats in a fuss? Well, it's crazy. George's self-proclaimed biography. He said he's a son. He's a son of a Brazilian immigrant. He's openly gay. He catapulted himself from a New York public college to become a Wall Street financier and investor for Citigroup and Goldman Sachs. He went on to create his own firm called Deplorable and managed $80 million in assets. I don't believe it. But anyways, his personal portfolio consists of 13 properties and an animal rescue charity. He said that he comes from a Jewish background and that his grandparents are survivors of the Holocaust. He also said that his real last name is Zabrowski, but was changed in the name of survival. And also, his mom died in the towers on 9/11. What a background story, dude. What a background story. It's almost unbelievable. Well, it's because it's not true. None of it's true. No, I don't like picking on my own side, but from one scumbag to another. You went a little too hard, son. So let me Monday morning quarterback this shit right here, okay? This is what you should have done, all right? What you should have said is you studied abroad and settled for a degree in economics. Then after 4 years of college, you felt the need to go and rediscover the old country and get back to the roots of your heritage. Now, and while doing some rediscovering, you discovered that your mom's side of the family were World War II refugees trying to escape persecution. After a simulation into Brazil and several generations, you ended up Catholic and with the last name Santos. Also, while you were there, you started up a financial firm. After years of success, you decided it was time to return to the U.S. to help run the family business that consists of property management and investment. You don't have to throw out numbers, nor do you need to throw in legitimate businesses that can be fact-checked. Also, your mom survived 9/11. That's going to have the same effect as her dying in the trade towers. It will keep you from looking like an asshole when they check the obituaries. Now, that right there is a more believable story and a little harder to fact-check. And the thing is, the truth always comes out into the light, but it will slowly come out, and it will be slow enough for you to run damage control, you know? And it would have kept this from happening to you.
Congressman-elect Santos, thank you for joining us today. First question I really want to ask you, now that all of this has been revealed, is what does the word integrity mean to you?
Well, Tulsi, thank you for having me. You know, to answer your question, integrity is very important. And like I said to the New York Post, embellishing
what
my
does it
resume
mean,
was a
though?
mistake.
What does it mean? Because the meaning of the word actually matters.
Yeah, tell us what
practice.
it means, Santos.
Of course, it means to carry yourself in an honorable way. And I made a mistake. And I think humans are flawed, and we all make mistakes, Tulsi. I think we can all look at ourselves in the mirror and admit that once in our life we made a mistake. I'm having to admit this in national television for the whole country to see. And I have the courage to do so because I believe that in order to move past this and move forward and be an effective member of Congress, I have to face my mistakes, and I'm facing them. The reality is that I remain committed to doing everything I set forward in my campaign. I'm not a fraud. I'm not a fake. I didn't materialize from thin air. I worked damn hard to get where I got my entire life. Life wasn't easy. It didn't start off easy. As I've said it many, many times, I come from abject poverty. I made some mistakes, and I own up to them. And now I want to put this past me so I can deliver for the American people.
The thing is, Congressman-elect, integrity means, yes, carrying yourself with honor, but it means telling the truth, being a person of integrity. And if I were one of those in New York's 3rd District right now that the election is over, and I'm finding out all of these lies that you've told, not just one little lie or one little embellishment, these are blatant lies. My question is, do you have no shame? Do you have no shame in the people who are now you're asking to trust you to go and be their voice for them, their families, and their kids in Washington?
Tulsi goes hard on them, too.
Tulsi, I can say the same thing about the Democrats and the party. Look at Joe Biden. Joe Biden's been lying to the American people for 40 years. He's the president of the United States.
That makes it okay for you to do, huh?
Democrats resoundingly support him. Do they have no shame? I've made this very clear.
This is not about the Democratic Party, though. This is about your relationship, frankly, with the people who've entrusted you to go and fight for them. And I think one of the questions that really probably hits home to a lot of people is are you Jewish? We've got a letter that your campaign sent out earlier this year, which reads as follows. As a proud American Jew, I've been to Israel numerous times for educational, business, and leisurely trips.
Dude, that's what I was talking about. That's a little too hard.
That you were, quote, a proud American Jew. How do you explain that?
My heritage is Jewish. I've always identified as Jewish. I was raised a practicing Catholic.
Have said it at all.
I think I've gone through this. Even I've not being raised a practicing Jew. I've always joked with friends and circles, even in the campaign, I'd say, guys, I'm Jewish. Remember, I was raised Catholic. So, look, I understand everybody wants to nitpick at me. I'm going to reassure this.
Judaism is not a race.
I'm not a facade.
religion.
I'm not a persona.
If you're not in the religion, you are not
I have an extensive
Jewish.
career that I worked really hard
As much
to
as
achieve.
people want to think
and
of
I'm
it as
gonna
a race,
deliver
it's
from my
not.
experience, because I remain committed in delivering results for the American people. I campaigned on inflation. I campaigned on crime. I campaigned on education. I campaigned on delivering resolve for the American people. That's what the people of the 3rd Congressional District heard me on and on as I campaigned. Now it's going to be incumbent upon me to deliver on those results. And I look forward to servicing
exactly
and
right.
serving my district. I look forward to serving my people in my district to make sure that they see that this is what
looking for. The results that people are looking for are called into question when you tell blatant lies, not embellishments. And this is, I think, one of the biggest concerns, Congressman-elect, is that you don't really seem to be taking this seriously. You've apologized. You said you've made mistakes.
He's so straight-faced while trying to shake off these fucking questions that
you worked
she's
at Goldman Sachs
giving
and
him.
Citigroup.
And he's just like, whoa.
But they've said we've got no
I got
record
an answer.
of this guy working for us. You've said you've
Blatantly
gone
lying
and
to
graduated
you on
from
fucking
these
television
universities,
is what he's
but
doing.
They said, well, we've got no record of that. These are blatant lies, and it calls into question how your constituents and the American people can
Not a bead
believe
of sweat
anything that
either.
you may
She's
say
fucking
when
going
you
at
are
him
standing
hard.
on the floor of the House
Not
of
a bead of sweat.
Representatives, supposedly fighting for them. That's the real issue here.
Well, look, I agree with what you're saying, and as I stated, and I continue, we can debate my resume and how I worked with firms such as Goldman and Citigroup.
Is it debatable,
all
or
night
is it
long,
just false?
No,
is
it's
it debatable,
very, no,
or
it's
is it
very
just
debatable.
false?
No, no, it's not false at all. It's debatable. I can sit down and explain to you what you can do in private equity, in capital intro, via servicing limited partners and general partners. And we can have this discussion that's going to go way above the American people's head. But that's not what I campaigned on. I campaigned on delivering results for the American people by lowering inflation. I can sit down, and if you want to have that discussion, I'd be glad to, Tulsi, to explain that to you and make sure that we settle the score.
This is not about settling scores, and I think you just kind of highlighted, I think, my concern and the concern that people at home have. You're saying that this discussion will go way above the heads of the American people, basically insulting their intelligence. So not only are you now backtracking
that's not what I'm
lies
saying.
that you told, but you're saying that you can't explain it in a way that your constituents would actually be able to understand.
I can explain it in a way
and that
if you
these
give
lies
me,
are
if you give me
debatable.
the time, I can easily give the.
You
if
deserve
you give me
that
the time, I can
that
easily
spot in the
explain
house,
it for you. As in, when investors are looking for capital, and I'm sitting there doing due diligence on the appetite and what they're looking for, right? And we work alongside GPs and LPs to help them place this capital. This is what I was doing, and that's when I worked extensively with these firms and many other firms at my time as I was vice president of Linkbridge Investors. So this isn't a made-up narrative, but I feel like nobody really wants to sit down and talk about it. Everybody just wants to push me and call me a liar. Look, I embellished my resume.
Santos.
I did.
Congressman-elect Santos, we've given you a lot of time. I think the time that is owed is to the people of New York's 3rd.
Exactly.
It's hard to imagine how they could possibly trust your explanations when you're not really even willing to admit the depth of your deception to them. Thank you so much for being here and joining us.
Thank you, Tulsi.
Now, this...
Oh, man. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Not a bead of sweat, man. And she was going after him, too. Straight-faced, lying to you. No shame in his game, that's for sure. You know, and what we just witnessed there is a star being born. You know, he kept the straight-faced and continued to lie. Like I said earlier, not a bead of sweat came out of him, you know. Tulsi tore him a new one, and he shrugged it off like he owned the interview. He's going to make a great politician. And in other news, over the holidays, the LGBTQ plus flag got an upgrade, and that's going to be the next thing we're going to talk about. So Jason Domino is a porn star, sex worker, and sex worker activist, and I'm sure there's a lot more. There's more titles there, but I have no want to click on his links because most lead to videos of his career. And I'm okay with not seeing that. So his new adaptation of the LGBTQ plus flag has been accepted as the new flag of the community because sex workers got an upgrade from occupation to marginalized community. So I guess you can now identify as a sex worker and scream that you are being discriminated against when feeling attacked. So TGEU.org posted a tweet that they later took down after backlash of the newly updated progress flag. And here it is. So, that puckered anus is supposed to be a red umbrella. And according to the community, a red umbrella represents sex workers' rights. And I wouldn't be surprised within this community if an umbrella is a euphemism for an anus. But let's move on, huh? So, Biden gave us a gem 2 weeks ago.
You know, my dad, when I got elected vice president, he said, Joey, Uncle Frank fought in the Battle of the Bulge. He was not feeling very well now, not because of the Battle of the Bulge, but he said, and he won the Purple Heart. And he never received it. He never got it. Do you think you could help him get it? We'll surprise him. So I got him the Purple Heart. He had won it in the Battle of the Bulge. And I remember he came over to the house, and I came out, and he said, present it to him. Okay, we had the family there. I said, Uncle Frank, you won this, and I went to peace. He said, I don't want the damn thing. I'm serious. He said, I don't want it. I said, what's the matter, Uncle Frank? You earned it. He said, yeah, but the others died. The others died. I lived. I don't want it. You know,
Did they? Did that really happen, Joe Biden? I have a hard time believing you there. Now, if you're wondering why I didn't condemn George Santos during his segment, is because of Biden and every other politician who has blatantly lied to gain power. It is part of the game, and it's an uncomfortable truth we have to accept sometimes, you know? Now, do I think it's right? No. But people calling for George Santos to resign should be calling for Biden to resign as well. Because that story never happened. It's false. The arbiter of truth, Snopes, did a fact check on it, and they said, did Joe Biden award his uncle a Purple Heart during his vice presidency? And it's false. Though Biden's uncle did serve in the military during World War II, he died in 1999. No, and that's not the first time Biden has done this. No, he's also said a similar story when speaking to constituents when he was running for presidency, and he said this.
For years, Joe Biden has been recounting a story of American heroism and heartbreak on the front lines, recently telling a crowd in New Hampshire how he traveled to Afghanistan to pin a silver star on a young Navy captain.
One of his buddies got shot, fell down a ravine about 60 feet. This guy climbed down a ravine, carried this guy up on his back under fire, and the general wanted me to pin the silver star on him.
And then a moving moment as Biden approached with the medal.
It's the God's truth. My word is a Biden. He stood at attention. I went to pin him. I said, sir, I don't want the damn thing. Do not pin it on me, sir. Please, sir. Do not do that.
Sound familiar?
He died. He died.
But the Washington Post dug into the story and determined Biden got the time period, the location, the heroic act, the type of medal, the military branch, and the rank of the recipient wrong, as well as his own role in the ceremony.
There we go, huh? Got everything wrong. Not just one thing wrong. It was everything he said in that story, talking to his constituents that are going to be voting for him, told him a blatant lie and was wrong about everything he said. But hey, George Santos, bad, and he should resign.
Explaining to do. The new questions stem from taped remarks of Biden during an April campaign appearance in New Hampshire.
I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. Went back to law school and, in fact, ended up in the top half of my class. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only needed 123 credits.
Biden now concedes he did not graduate in the top half of his law school class, that he does not have 3 degrees from college, and that he was not named outstanding political science student in college.
Newsweek says Biden actually went to school on a half scholarship ended up near the bottom of his class, and won only 1 degree, not 3.
Joe Biden ranked 76th in a class of 85 at the University of Syracuse Law School. I mean, this guy comes off this whole thing as a flyweight.
Now Biden says Newsweek is right. His memory had failed him.
They all lie. No, Biden has been a career politician since 1973. He has been lying and deceiving the American people for 50 years. So, anyways, so we have a couple more stories to get to, and the next story we will be talking about is the FTX scandal. So, FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried is the next story. This was a story I wanted to do a deep dive on, but the holidays happened. I fell behind, and I also feel like this story is coming to a crescendo. No, I'm better off just mentioning it and moving on. You know, we're in a new year, and there's bigger and better news to talk about. So, as everyone knows, SBF swindled many people out of their money. He was taking people's invested money, moving it over to a secondary company, and investing it into the stock market, and was also making huge contributions to the Democratic Party. And it could probably be said that he was a big reason why Democrats won as much as they did during the midterms, because campaign ads work. And Democrats outspent Republicans in that category. And if we look at a chart put together by Open Secrets, we can see here in the category of media, that's where Democrats focused most of their money, and the second being wages and salaries. Now, if we look at another article from Open Secrets, they say Sam Bankman-Fried, the founder of the cryptocurrency exchange platform FTX, was a darling in some Washington, D.C. policy circles. He proselytized for digital assets in testimony on Capitol Hill and gave more than $990,000 to candidates, plus an additional $38.8 million to outside groups this election cycle, making him the 6th biggest individual donor of the 2022 midterms. No. And then they go on to say, Bankman-Fried was the 2nd biggest Democratic leaning mega donor this election cycle. According to Open Secrets data, only about $235,000 of his total political giving went towards Republican candidates. More of Bankman-Fried's money actually made it into the political ecosystem this election cycle than money from the largest Democratic mega donor, George Soros, founder of the investment firm Soros Management Fund and the philanthropic Open Society Foundation. So he invested more money into the Democrats than George Soros that election cycle. No, and I'm sure SBF's money will be missed. Now, he was arrested and extradited from the Bahamas to New York City, where he posted bail for $250 million, which he made history for the biggest bond paid for a federal case, and is now chilling in a luxurious mansion in Palo Alto, California, awaiting his trial that he pleaded not guilty to. So, that's the story so far. And predictions here. Once the trial runs its course and the jury gathered for deliberation, SBF will be found by a surfer in the ocean with all his clothes on and wallet in pocket, or have a mysterious heart attack and die in his sleep. That's my prediction. That's what seems to happen to all these crypto people. And that's another conspiracy to talk about at a later time. So there were so many other stories that happened during the month of December. There was Elon stepping down as CEO from Twitter because of a poll he posted. But let's be real. Just because he's not CEO does not mean he does not own Twitter. Him stepping down means Elon has an employee who runs shit for him, but he still gets to make high-profile decisions. And then there was Carrie Lake's trial that everyone said was her claiming fraud, but that was not the case. She was claiming malpractice of the election. The judge did not agree with her, but the case is still open for to go to the Supreme Court. And then there was Paul Pelosi's case that is going to trial because David DePape pled not guilty of attacking Paul in his house. Now, that's going to be a good one. And I'll probably be covering that later on this year when we learn more. And then there was the Twitter files, but that deserves its own episode if I decide to do it. It is too big of a story to break down within 30 minutes, so it's going to probably be a whole fucking episode. But we will end this segment talking about Andrew Tate, the top G himself. So Andrew Tate was arrested for human trafficking in Romania. But let's start at the beginning here. Depending on who you ask on Twitter, Andrew Tate's arrest started with this tweet. So, hello, at Greta Thunberg. I have 33 cars. My Bugatti has a W16 8.0 liter quad turbo. My two Ferrari 812 Competition have 6.5 liter V12s. This is just the start. Please provide your email address so I can send a complete list of my car collection and their respective enormous emissions. That's a beautiful car right there. If I say so myself. Greta replied back to him, but I'm having a hard time thinking it was her actually tweeting back. But if it was, kudos to her because it was a solid comeback. Yes, please do indulge me. Email me at smalldickenergy@getalife.com. Original. No, I would say just at least say something that's going to hurt him, not make him smirk. Now, if I was her in that tweet, I would have added to the thread 5 minutes later with the compilation of blurred out small dick pics and asked, which one is yours? Now that's funny and worthy of the praises every shitlib gave her on this unoriginal tweet. But shortly after that tweet, Tate tweets this. Thank you for confirming via your email address that you have a small penis. Fucking Jesus Christ, dude. The world was curious, and I do agree you should get a life. Damn it. Unoriginal and missed opportunities on both sides. So let's give this fucking clip a watch, huh?
Release some greenhouse gases.
Jesus Christ.
I'm obviously a stranger to online controversies, not something I often do. But now, the mainstream press is commenting on the fact that I was informing Greta that my very extensive car collection with internal combustion engines, which run on dead dinosaurs, have an enormous emission profile. And she replied by telling me her own email address. Greta's email address is, I have small dick energy. Why would that be your own email address, Greta? Strange.
Where that? Where that?
Also, I don't want to assume her gender. It's 50-50, but it is what it is. I'm not actually mad at Greta. Please bring me pizza and make sure that these boxes are not recycled. Thank you. Jesus. So I'm not actually mad at Greta, right? Because she doesn't realize she's been programmed. She doesn't realize she's a slave of the Matrix. She thinks she's doing good. Someone has sat her down and convinced her to try and convince you to beg your government to tax you into poverty to stop the sun from being hot. And then, because I called her out on it, the global matrix got this bot farm to like and retweet and all this bot commenting to try and pretend that her telling me that she has a small dick in her own email address.
Yeah, because that's how you win arguments on Twitter.
Welcome to a new episode of The Clown Show. But now I know, at least, that Greta, with a little hate-filled face, bitter, sitting somewhere without the heating on, in the cold, a little hat, shivering, views my tweets.
God damn it, dude.
Which is going to make my Twitter account far more fun into eternity.
Damn it. Stick to what you know, buddy. Cool, calm, and collective shit talking, because that's what you do best. Running with an unoriginal joke and trying to turn it on her makes you a bit cringe. Just saying. It made me cringe, that's for sure. I'm just like, oh God, why are you doing this? But shortly after that tweet, Andrew Tate and his brother got arrested on sex trafficking allegations. Now, at this point, Twitter is on fire because of a tweet thread from the trans activist we talked about earlier in this segment. Alejandra Caraballo tweeted this. Now, this is the point of the segment where I would show you her thread, but out of embarrassment, she deleted the entire thread. It was deleted 2 days ago, as seen here. So all of it's gone. All of it's gone. But to kind of sum up what the thread said, she did exactly what she claims she is fighting to stop on Twitter. She spread misinformation. The whole thread I was going to show you was false. That's probably why she deleted it. So far, nothing has been made public on whether Tate and his brother will be charged with the crimes they are being accused of by Romania. But Romania did confirm that Tate and his brothers will be detained for 30 days. So we will see what happens in the next 20 days. And my prediction is they will move to trial with insufficient evidence to further smear Tate, but will eventually get dismissed because of lack of evidence. And we will end this segment with the clip from the top G himself being interviewed by Zuby.
Say, listen, and I'm going to say this on this podcast now because I say it in every other one. I would never, ever kill myself. I truly believe they're going to come and they're going to try and kill me on a long enough time frame because they tried to shut me up and I won't shut up. They're either going to try and put me in jail or they're going to kill me. And I would never kill myself under any circumstances ever. And the reason I say this, and I say this to people, and they go, but what can they put you in jail for? And I'm like, how ignorant are you in your ignorance to believe they need a reason? You believe it's fair. You believe I can get a lawyer and prove myself innocent. That's not how it works. They decide you're guilty long before and they find a reason why. And it doesn't matter what you do about it, you will pay the fucking price. It's not fair. None of it is. Every single system's corrupt. It actually annoys me when people say it to me. Well, just get a lawyer. Why? They can't put you in jail if you're innocent. Yes, they fucking can. And that's what people don't understand about the world. They can and they do and they fucking will. And
Well, that was a little bit of a prediction there, huh? And do with that what you will. And that ends the segment.